We'll get him next time. So once again, I tapped out on the last day, knowing that with the given amount of time left, I had no chance to get top 100. And once again, we came up short of anything significant. In fact, this is probably like within a couple hundred points of what I ended the World Championship qualifier on. It's 33.8k. Good enough for 337th place. This is like within like 10 spots of what I got last time too. So it's like top 500, cool. I got a cool icon that nobody will ever see because, you know, there's no difference between the bronze icon for top 500 and top 10k. All you get is a title that they have to click on your profile to see. So whatever. This is the reason I didn't do as well as I wanted to is because of my deck choice. Everyone who tells you that Kashtira is trash, they're 100% correct. This deck is basura. Honestly, it's unplayable. Why did I play this deck? Because, first of all, the best deck in the format is Purrely. You know, far and away. That should be consensus by now. I did not play Purrely because I personally suck at the game, and Purrely is a hard deck to play. So, I needed a trash deck to fit a trash player. And here's how, this is what we ended up with, Trash Tira. The other pick was Labyrinth. I do not actually own Labyrinth. There's too many URs for me to play that deck right now. I could have crafted them, but that wouldn't have been an efficient use of my gems. So yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Sieve and cope. So here's the build, and this is like, there's not much to explain. We don't have to explain any of the Kashtira cards. Like, you've just maxed out on however many copies of the good Kashtira cards there are. Like the 3 Unicorns, Defenders, the Burrs, the 1 field spell. Planet Pathfinder, I think, is mandatory. The best card in your deck is the field spell. Field spell is the 1 card starter, and additionally, it gives you pops with Shangri-La. It gives you non-monster related destruction. That outs stuff that you normally would have trouble with, like, you know, the Scareclaw, Link 3, Tryhard, and other random stuff. And it makes Unicorn and Fender additional disruptions on your opponent's turn when you have Shangri-La, since when they banish, they're gonna trigger Shangri-La, and then it's gonna activate rates off. And this is a big reason why the deck was so good in TCG, because you have consistent access to this. You don't have consistent access to this right now. You have to cope on Planet Pathfinder, which is still worth playing just because the deck has even with Planet Pathfinder, this deck has a single-digit amount of 1 card starters. That's how bad it is. And there's like 3 outcomes with this deck when you go first. Which is another thing, is this deck is not enjoyable to play whatsoever. The dueling experience is abysmal. You either brick, which happens like 1 every 4, 1 every 5 games, so that's a non-game. You either don't brick, and then you go Kashtira combo, and your opponent does not have an out to Arise Heart, or they do not have an out to double Arise Heart, and they scoop shortly after. Very interactive. Or 3, your opponent has an out to Arise Heart, and then they spend their out on Arise Heart, and then we get to play an actual real game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's another thing with this deck, is despite this deck obviously being heavily nerfed and being a piece of trash, inconsistent, like pile of trash, the fact that Arise Heart is not limited is also kind of an issue. Because I will say this, I don't know if people on Master Duel just don't know any combo lines. Like, I feel like the types of players that Kashtira attracts are not the type to blab out combo lines or whatever, not that there's very many combo lines. But there are plays you can do with extenders in Kashtira that go beyond just the standard Kashtira board, which is honestly quite mid. I will say, half the time that I don't work with this deck, I have a hand that can also produce double Arise Heart. And double Arise Heart is like dumb to face down. It cuts the amount of outs your opponent needs in half. So I would say there are on multiple occasions I was playing against Mathmech. My Mathmech opponent activates, I had double Arise Heart out, and my Mathmech opponent activated Small World. And they Small Worlded and revealed a Kaiju. And then they left after adding the Kaiju to their hand because they realized, oh, I only can out one Arise Heart. That's the second one still I don't have an out for, so why am I still in this? Like double Arise Heart setups are fairly semi-consistent, which is kind of scary, honestly. Like I make double Arise Heart more than I brick with this deck, which is saying something because this deck bricks a whole lot. And the non-Kashtira cards that decided to play this fill with this deck is, or just Handtraps. It didn't get funny with the board breakers or thrusts or anything like that. I use Handtraps because I personally think Handtraps are the best way to deal with the Purrely matchup. And I was suspecting that I was going to face Purrely the most because I knew Purrely was the best deck. I was hoping that everyone else knew Purrely was the best deck, and it definitely was. But here's the issue: is I did have a good Purrely matchup. Aside from the Ghost Trick Purrely, playing against Ghost Trick Purrely, it's unwinnable because you actually can't hand trap them without Droll, and I'm not playing Droll because I suspect if you have two well-timed hand traps against Purrely, that should end their turn. Unless, of course, they're playing the Ghost Trick package, in which case they have a UDF to blank a hand trap, and they have infinite discard fodder. So yeah, that was fun. I beat almost every Purrely deck that was not Ghost Trick, but the Ghost Tricks got me. So you know, when can you say that in Yu-Gi-Oh? That I had about like an 80% win rate against Purrely over in Duelist Cup, which was like higher than even I expected. The hand pass worked well. The problem is that Purrely matchup combined with a 20% lab win rate, and I faced a lot of lab too. So a lot of my climb would be me beating up on Purrely, beating up on the mirror match, and then getting like smoked by lab 2 games in a row, and that was frustrating. That was so bad. It was like there was nothing this deck could do going second against lab. Like you just can't win going second against lab. Just it's like resolve shifted or bust. Which, by the way, the most toxic card in the entire Kashtira deck, aside from a Rise Heart, is fucking Dimension Shifter. This card needs to go. This is not okay. This is like against every Math Mech opponent, you know, Math Mech going first usually has a good matchup against Kashtira, except when I open Shifter, then they auto lose. So that's just very, very fun interactive games. Please get this garbage out of here, please. I don't want to run Shifter in my deck either. I hate this card with a passion. And like another thing about Handtraps is, unlike board breakers, a lot of times the Kashtira board is not like strong or anything. It's just a Rise Hearts ×1 or ×2 of it, basically. So I don't want cards that are bad going first too. This deck doesn't auto win going first, right? That's the issue. Like if I pack my deck with stuff like Thrust and then like Herald the Abyss and Evenlies and board breakers, and my hand is just like basically a Rise Heart plus a bunch of cards that I can't use, I'm gonna die. Like they're gonna out my Rise Heart and I'm gonna die. Whereas when I had hand traps, even when I had stuff like Valor and Gamma, which I can't even use under Rise Heart, and stuff like Maxi, what would frequently happen is I have a Rise Heart out, and then they would out it. In the process of outing my Rise Heart, that also leaves them open to then they run into Gamma, and they run into Valor, and they get Maxi. So I still have a chance after they out my Rise Heart, which happens a ton of times. If they out my Rise Heart and my hand is like Dark Ruler, Thrust, whatever, and like it doesn't do anything, then I'm gonna die that turn, and that's not good. Because whenever I didn't have a hand trap backing up my Rise Heart, I also died most of the time when it got outed. So it's not, these hand traps are nice backup plans. Obviously Ash and Infirm are really broken. They're hand traps that work under a Rise Heart, and Ash specifically outs Thrust, which is one of the main ways they can deal with a Rise Heart. So that's Thrust and a Rise Heart is actually quite oppressive. You should always run Ash in this deck. And then I always Mourner is really good too, and Valor is so the reason I ran Valor over Mourner, even though I was an advocate, I always thought Mourner was better in Kashtira, and in a vacuum it is. First I ran Valor because the lab matchup sucked, and I'm like, you know what, at least Valor can hit Ariana. whereas Mourner effectively does nothing in the lab matchup 99% of the time. And I played effectively #1 for that, and that was a mistake because that was not a good reasoning at all. The lab matchup still sucked. Valor did. It's not like Valor's going to be the difference in the lab matchup. You know, they have like 12 copies, 15 copies of Welcome Lab. It's not like Valor and 1 Ariana is going to stop them. But another thing is, there are certain lines where when you don't open Unicorn, but you open Fender and say a Kashtira Rise Heart, having Valor lets you combo in those scenarios, which is funny because another thing about Handtraps is they are effectively extenders going first too. If you have Kashtira Unicorn and then, or any Kashtira monster, and then one of the 2 Kashtira spells like Birth or Fealces, you can actually normal summon your hand trap, then make a Baron or a Omega depending on which hand trap you open, and then revive your Kashtira monster with the Birth, and then Fealces and do your full Kashtira combo while making a synchro. And that's really nice because Baron, as being an Omni Negate, Baron can out the very large number of things that out your Rise Heart. Stuff like Thrust and most board breakers besides obviously Dark Rule No More. Omega is also very nice. So it works. Number one, Omega with Gamma is broken. Gamma was the MVP of my deck. It was the second best card in my deck after Planet Pathfinder. I won so many games single-handedly just because my opponent tries to play around Kashtira, or I reveal I'm on Kashtira, or they try to, ash my field spell, and then they get Gamma and they get blown out completely. I've resolved Gamma twice in one game before, once to summon Omega on my turn, and then once after they outed my Rise Heart, and then I Gammaed them again, and then there was just no way they could win with Omega coming back. You can also summon Omega with Effect Valor plus any Kashtira monster as well. And the nice thing about Omega is you can hold, if you do it that way, then you don't have to use this effect to clear itself to special summon your Kashtira monster since it's already on board. So you can hold off using Omega until you have your Rise Heart on board. And then after you summon your Rise Heart, you can use Omega's effect to banish a card from your opponent's hand. This will trigger a Rise Heart to get an extra material on it, and additionally, you can attach the card that you banish off Omega onto the Rise Heart. And then that's effectively a hand loop forever, because they will never get that card back. Since it's attached under Rise Heart, it won't return to their hand, even if it gets detached later. But the Omega will still come back, and they don't get a card back when Omega returns. So that's a pretty cool interaction, and it also makes it harder for your opponent to play through, because with down one card and facing down the Rise Heart, they can't often kill you, and then they're gonna get in for a beating the next turn when Omega comes back and rips another card from their hand, and they're like just down so many resources. And I mentioned Fender plus Rise Heart plus Valor is full combo, since you can Fender for Unicorn, normal summon the Valor, go into Omega, banish the Omega, now your field's clear, now you can special summon the Unicorn that you searched, and then that can get you Fealces, and then since you already opened the Rise Heart, you don't care about not having the Fender search, you already have full combo that way. Pretty nice. So the flex spots are the 3 1-up cards here. Mourner, Crossout, and Reinforcement of the Armor. You'll see in the replays, I tested a bunch of stuff in these 3 slots. What these should have been Desires, because I was breaking to high hell and I just did not consider that card. And I didn't like Desires because I thought, oh man, what if I banish my field spell? Then your 3 Planet Pathfinders become Garnets in your deck. And yeah, that's just true. But guess what? If you activate Desires and you didn't have a playable hand, it doesn't matter that these are Garnets. It's not like you drew them anyways. You just need the ways to play the game. So probably over Mourner, Crossout, and Reinforcement of the Army, maybe play 2 to 3 Desires. Maybe run a 3rd Rise Heart for Desires, banishes purposes, and run like 2 Desires. I was trying Red Reboot because it was against Lab. I was playing a lot of Lab and getting my clock cleaned. And the sad thing is, I resolved Red Reboot multiple times versus Lab, and I still didn't even win all those games. It was terrible. And same versus Mathmech. I would Math Effect or Super Factorial, and I would still lose that game. So I'm like, if Red Reboot does not even help me guarantee win against the 2 matchups it's supposed to be the best against, why the hell am I running this card? So I cut Red Reboot, and then I put back in the Crossout. I tried Call by the Grave, and then, what did you know, the first game after I put in Call by the Grave, I was unable to Call by the Grave my opponent's Ash because they run the Shifter, and I lost that game because my only starter was Planet Pathfinder because, you know, this deck just opens too many starters. So I just defaulted back to an extra copy of Rise Heart, essentially, with reinforcement of the army. And, you know, opening Rise Heart's never bad if you open any other Kashtira monster. However, if you open just Rise Heart and no other Kashtira cards, this card sucks, but you know what, you gotta take what you can get. And Mourner was the next best hand trap again. I wish I could run more of this. Normal Sunning Mourner is pretty nice too, but I wanted to run more Mourner too, because Mourner plus Rise Heart is also very oppressive. And then Crossout Designator was I drew this card like twice and I activated it once. I was basically just running a 39 card deck. Like, I drew this card almost never came up. Like, that I could have cut this and played it like a fucking Blue Eyes White Dragon, wouldn't have mattered at all. For the extra deck, not much explanation needed. I wanted to play a third of Rise Heart, but honestly, the third of Rise Heart literally never came up in 3 days over 100 something, whatever, 200 games I dueled in Duelist Cup. So, like, you don't need a third of Rise Heart for this. The only things that really matter that you make are like the 2 Shangri-Eras, the Rise Heart, the Zeus, and then 1 Big Eye and 1 Dark Arm. I never made the second Big Eye. I never needed a second Dark Arm. I made Infinite Track Balance Smasher once, and it actually mattered to run over something in Sprite, but like that was that was a 1 game anyways. I didn't really need this. And then Dragosack, obviously I didn't summon this card a single time at all. Donner I summoned once to out a Scareclaw cache. Theoretically you should be running Donner because it's also an out to Contact C and stuff like that, which is definitely seen in play. I personally never ran into those in the time that mattered to make Donner. Well, Donner's probably the next most important card, and then obviously the 2 Synchros. This is too many Prosperity banishes because Prosperity is limited. So I spent 3 slots for basically something that's going to only happen 15% of my duels. And I think you should be running Skull Knight and Skull Wagon. These are this out's a monster and this out's a spell trap. It's better than N-Test because a large majority of time, if they out your Rise Heart, they're not going to have anything important on the field for N-Test to pop in the first place. Like, imagine you have N-Test under a Rise Heart, then they kaiju your Rise Heart. It's like, oh yeah, what am I going to pop with N-Test that gives me value? Right? Same with Garura. Garura is a random draw. Whereas Skull Knight and Skull Wagon, they guarantee force, they guarantee out your opponent's board on the follow-up. They give you a chance, whereas this random draw off Garura is not reliable. And if you have double Rise Heart, you don't even get the draw off Garura because obviously it doesn't even go to the grave half the time. Infinite Track Goliath, I never got my Rise Heart Gamut once, and I never even got Regeki or Darkhold, so this card didn't come up. This card literally did not exist in my extra deck. So yeah, this is important, this is important, this is important. You only need one of this, and then 2, this, and Donner, and these 2. Infinite Track does not matter, Dragosack does not matter, and then the Mountain Smasher also does not matter. Anyways, enough of the rambling about the most boring deck in the game. At least let's see some slightly less boring gameplay that showcases actually basically the extent of the combos you can do with this deck, quote-unquote combos. Okay, so this is not a game from the Duelist Cup, but it's basically using basically the same deck list, and this duel is just too good. So Planet Pathfinder gets Imperm, the classic. I opened Fender already, so at least I'm gonna get it off the field. And then they max C, big mistake. I'm gonna Gamma their max C, and this is by far the most work that I've ever had done with a Cyframe Lord Omega. So first, I try to clear the field and it gets Imperm. So now I can't summon Fender, but I effectively dealt with 3 cards for my opponent's hand. My opponent's on 2 cards. I'll take that exchange. On their turn, they're gonna Desires and draw 2, and I'm gonna try to hit a starter out of their hand because they only have 4 cards in hand. And I hit an Ash, and there was no starter to hit in the first place. So now here's where things get off the rail. Like Ciphering Lord Omega comes back, gets booked. So Omega does not special summon itself when it comes back. It just comes back. That means I can flip it back face up, and my opponent has the second book. You're wondering why I didn't run this card? This is not one of the reasons, but it's very funny that Omega effectively makes book useless. So I just dealt with 2 more cards of Omega right there. So Omega has traded with 4 cards for my opponent so far. I'm gonna flip it face up, get max seed, so I'm gonna rip another card. So Omega ripped another card, and then got my opponent to discard max seed. So this one Omega has gotten rid of 6 of my opponent's cards. And if you think that's all, it keeps going. So my turn again. Omega comes back. Activate Omega. It gets. If you keep in count, that's card number 7 that Omega has dealt with for my opponent. And they learn another thing. Omega is not a once per turn at all, or it's not a hard once per turn. So if they flip it face down, I can just flip Omega face up again and use its effect again. So 8. That's 8 cards. Omega got rid of 8 of my opponent's cards. Literally, when no single card that anyone's ever played has ever gotten that much value, I guarantee you. So anyway, because I literally did not play any card in my hand for the past like 5 turns, I can just kill my opponent. Banish Burf, Scareclaw, banish Fields, just get back Burf, special, normal Unicorn, and this game. I mean, this is not the point. So the Kashtira cards do not matter. Okay, Omega is by far the best monster in my deck. It's not even close. So this is basically the high ceiling hand that a build like this can get, and it goes through both of the combo lines with extenders. So this hand you see it has Unicorn and one of Fields is in Birth and a hand trap. So that means you can do the line where you special summon Unicorn to add the other spell you're missing, and then normal summon your hand trap, make a synchro, and then revive your Unicorn with Birth, and then you can continue Kashtira combo this way. So I'm gonna use Fields first to get the Fender out of my deck, and then I'm gonna use Pot of Prosperity. I need to see either a Rise Heart or a Kashtira Scareclaw, because Unicorn plus Scareclaw or Rise Heart is also double a Rise Heart as well. So I get Reinforcement of the Army, which gets me Rise Heart, which means I can add Scareclaw with Fender, and now you do going to the Shangri-Era, the special summon the Rise. First I'm gonna actually banish the Scareclaw Kashtira first, because I hard drew Big Bang, but in this hand, since you open both Rise Heart and Kashtira Scareclaw, you can play around it like it's nothing. Just banish the Big Bang from your hand to target the Shangri-La, summon the Unicorn back, and then special summon the Rise Heart. This will trigger, allowing you to overlay on top of your a Rise Heart on top of your Kashtira monster, and the Fields just banished from the Kashtira Rise Heart, adds back the Big Bang, and then the rest of the 3 Kashtira monsters go into the second Rise Heart, and then you trigger Omega. Omega will hand loop a card out of their hand, and then that will give both my Rise Hearts on the field an extra material. So this is like a 4-card combo basically, where you end on both a Synchro plus double a Rise Heart. And this is like really hard for basically any deck to deal with. Your opponent summons Unicorn for some reason, because Kashtira Swordsoul is like just the best variant of Swordsoul you could be playing in this meta, clearly. So they're gonna add Birth, which okay. Then they're gonna normal summon Ash, at which point we're gonna banish the Unicorn, and then we get the mandatory Kashtira or Rise Heart effects taking 5 minutes per turn. And they're gonna Kurikara me, so they outed both Rise Hearts, but they can't really do anything because they normal summon Ash, and they're gonna Birth without a Unicorn because we banished it. And end phase are gonna bring back Fender, which is like cool. The problem is Omega comes back, and then Fossil Warrior Skull Knight attached off Prosperity is gonna pop the Fender, and then Skullwagon is gonna pop the Burf, and then our Burf is gonna bring back the Kashtira Unicorn, and then that's full combo, and they die. So even if they clear the double Rise Heart boards, because you know we did have the Omega as well. If it was a Baron instead of the Omega, obviously we could have another negate in the field, but instead we just have follow up and Pot of Prosperity. This is why Prosperity is such a big deal, because anytime you activate Pot of Prosperity, you just have follow up in the grave to like pop your opponent's board if they don't kill you, which it's really hard to kill you as well as out both Rise Hearts. So this duel is going to cover an aspect of Kashtira that doesn't come up as much anymore because of the banning of Diabluses, but zone locking is relevant in certain matchups. First of all, here's why Planet Pathfinder sucks. Okay, so if as you can see, if the Planet Pathfinder was just the field spell or terraforming, we would have had the same setup as we did last game, which was Synchro plus double Rise Heart. But since we only have one normal summon, you have to choose between summoning the Effect Veiler or summoning the Planet Pathfinder. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna choose to go into the Omega this time instead of going double Rise Heart. Why I do this? Honestly, it's like 50-50. I don't have a generic reason. I literally, that's just what I did. I don't, it might not even be the correct play, to be honest. So this is just gonna be the standard Kashtira combo then. Shangri-Ira, Rise Heart, yeah, you know all this stuff. Zone Lock. Get Unicorn back, special, or Rise Heart, and then I don't normally end on this line because with just a single material Rise Heart it's kind of vulnerable. But because we have Omega, we could just get an extra material for free, so it gets easier to trigger Rise Heart that way. And you can attach the Big Bang as well, and Big Bang can potentially summon back the Fender underneath Shangri-Ira. So our opponent's on Purrely, and they're gonna get the Purrely out. And this game took like 20 minutes real time because count how many times like fucking a Rise Heart triggers during my opponent's turn. So I take their Purrely that we handled from Omega, so they never get it back, and then we take their Zeus. So they have to kill us if they want to win this. And here's where the zone locking comes in. Since Unicorn banished one, we lock 2 spell and trap zones. Main phase, standby phase, you get a summon Fender. They're gonna activate the Street, then they're gonna activate Tactics to get triple Tactics, or they're gonna activate Thrust to get Tactics, and then Rise Heart Mandatory trigger. And when they use Tactics to take, I'm gonna use a Rise Heart to banish the Street face down. And they really should have taken Shangri-Ira, to be honest. They really need to get rid of the Shangri-Ira here, but instead they take Fender, so that's gonna trigger a Rise Heart. Okay, well that's gonna trigger a Rise Heart, obviously it's gonna trigger Shangri-Ira to lock a 3rd zone. The zones are become really important. And because Big Bang got banished, since I detached off a Rise Heart, I can special summon the Fender underneath Shangri-Ira. This is a very important interaction. You should know that if you have any time you have control over banishing Big Bang, and you have any Kashtira monster locked under your Shangri-Ira, you can just summon it willy-nilly. So the fact that our opponent took our Kashtira Fender does not matter, since we can just summon it again. And obviously we reattach the Big Bang, and that's gonna trigger Fender to banish our Rise Heart finally. They're gonna activate My Friend Purrely, and they're gonna reveal 3. And here's a mistake. Okay, so they're gonna activate Purrely effect, right? And that's gonna give me an opportunity to trigger Kashtira Fender. And once I do, so Fender's gonna banish the card, and that's gonna trigger Shangri-Ira once again. It's gonna lock the final zone. So they played My Friend Purrely, but the fact that they played My Friend Purrely screwed them over. Because now they did not take our Shangri-Ira, so the zone lock stayed on their side of the field. And with the My Friend Purrely clogging zone, they have no more zones to activate their quick play spells. So they can't do anything at this point. And Burf is going to trigger, and I'm just going to banish 3 cards from their grave, even though none of them matter. Lock a 5th zone, because why not? And yeah, our opponent, there's really no link 2 they could even link off with Fender, so they were just stuck, unable to play anything. And of course now they're going to die. Oh yeah, Purrely is like the one matchup where potentially zone locking can come in if they don't have an out. If you go wide and they don't have an out to every single monster on your field. Alright, so this game, we draw a Shifter. And this is I changed Shifter. I don't know what the hell I'm playing against right now because all my opponent did was activate Rite of Artemis here. I'm gonna spoilers. They are not playing the deck that I expected them to play. So they're just gonna end on a negate, and they're gonna take the Fender out of our hand. And this is kind of annoying because now I have one play and it gets negated by Griffin Rider. So I'm gonna activate Rise Heart, and they don't bite, so I'm gonna force them to use the Griffin Rider. And I can't, like, this sucks. Sometimes I want to run a rank 4, so for when I draw double Rise Heart. So the Fields is gonna trigger, and it's gonna add back the Unicorn, but I need to live. So I need to, my only win condition is for them to play into Gamma. And if I'm showing you this replay, you can probably guess what's gonna happen. So first of all, they're gonna get the Griffin Rider back. And get the Draco back, and I was thinking, yo, what if they bounce back my Rise Heart right now with Draco back just to get more, just read more damage? What if? Instead, they're gonna activate Sharon, and this is the. I hate Adventure Tier. I do not understand the synergy at all with this. So they're gonna mill into the Strudo, special the Strudo, and they don't even sync with it. They normal summon Kashtira Unicorn to get Kashtira Birth, and then Kashtira Birth is gonna revive the Unicorn that they milled. Just excellent synergy of tier cards. The tier cards really did something for you this game. And now they're gonna bounce back Rise Heart. So they messed up anyway. So now they're gonna Unicorns. For some reason, they're gonna trigger Unicorn effect. The amount of times, if I had a nickel for every game I won for my opponent activating a random Kashtira monster on a direct attack when they had lethal, and then get gammaed in the process and lose, I would have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's strange that it happened twice. Of course, they're gonna have to Griffin Rider this, because I don't know why they Griffin Rider this, to be honest. You have 2 unicorns left here. Why did you? So yeah, they take my big eye, and now they suddenly don't have lethal on board, and they shame concede because they also used their negate on the Gamma for some reason, knowing I have a unicorn in hand, and now I have unicorn that's gonna clear their field. They also did not take Zeus, so I can also Zeus their board. It's the quality. I understand. Duelist Cup is a grind. Sometimes you're not thinking on your feet. Alright, this is a game where we once again open Shifter, and I'm gonna lead off with Fender. We have Theosis, so we technically do have a combo. So I'm gonna add Rise Heart, and Theosis, the Fender, which is gonna get Ash, so we actually don't have a combo anymore. Sag. And I'm gonna summon Rise Heart still, use Rise Heart to affect Banner's Birth, and overlay into Shangri-Era and pass. This is like excellent board. This is the strongest Kashtira board. Man, I love this deck. It's just so damn good. Bro, like look what this sets up through one hand trap. Amazing. Now I'm gonna trigger it, it's gonna get imperm. So, you know, average Purrely hand, 2 hand traps plus Purrely. Purrely always hits, of course. I don't think I've had a Purrely not hit against me. And I activate Field Spell and activate the effect of Purrely, which I'm gonna imperm this now because you literally have nothing else you can imperm, right? And they're gonna activate Happy Memory. And the Shifter come in clutch because they can't use their Purrely effect because they're not gonna have any quick play spells in their grave. So they're gonna go assemble Nightingale and just make a fat Zeus on me. And hopefully pray that that's enough. Which, you know, I don't blame them. They know I have a unicorn in hand. Of course it's gonna be enough. I need to top deck like a god. And this, I've said this before, Planet Pathfinder is the best card in the deck. Not even close. So we're gonna use our Unicorn plays to get Zeus, and then normal summon Pathfinder, get the planet rates off, get Scareclaw Kashtira, banish the Fields. This Fields is gonna add back the Birth we banished last turn. First time that ever came up, the Birth that I banished on Rise Heart came back. Now we get Fender to get another Rise Heart, special the Rise Heart. Enter battle phase. We're gonna banish the Zeus, attack for a lot of damage. Our opponent's on 2 cards, and we're gonna use Shangri-La, a Rise Heart, plus the Big Bang. So yeah, and on Fender a Rise Heart, and the Field Spell. The Field Spell is an interruption, by the way, and our opponent's on 3 cards as Purrely, with a Unicorn field. So there's nothing they can do. I totally deserve that game. Deserve that game. I would skillfully open Shifter and beat Purrely deck with that. Well, we're playing against our opponent. Good luck, have fun. Who's on Kashtira? I see what you're doing. Don't be cheeky with me. Good luck, have fun. My ass. So anyway, they open a crazy hand. They open Unicorn plus already had Fields, just like Search Birth, and they have Planet Pathfinder. So this hand, at minimum, should produce Field Spell. Well, I'm going to tell you the ideal board that this hand produces, that they had. It should have double a Rise Heart, plus a Unicorn on field, a Birth face up, and a set Big Bang. Let's see what they did. So they're going to banish the Big Bang, they're going to lock some zones, and special back the Unicorn, pop the Shangri-La, okay, that looks okay. Then they're going to Rise Heart on top of the Rise Heart, okay. Mistake number 1, activate Prosperity Vibes. So not only do they have a 4-card combo, they have Pot of Prosperity as well. So the Prosperity is gonna get them an extra material onto their Rise Heart, and they're gonna Birth summon Scareclaw Cash for some reason, which is gonna let them add back the Big Bang and attach the Fields, and then special Fender. So this board is essentially just a Rise Heart, Unicorn, and Fender as interruptions. This is the same board you can make with a single Unicorn. They had Unicorn, Field Spell, Pot of Prosperity. And this is what they end on. So with an additional Big Bang set. And of course, you know they're going to trigger Shangri-La, and they're going to get Ogre from the deck. Because Kashtira Ogre is just way too important. Like, looking at 5 cards on top of my deck during my turn, that's too useful as a card. There's it's totally worth the risk of using Shangri-La against the blind matchup, knowing it could be the mirror match. So this is the mirror match. And we're going to summon Fender, and they're going to go into a Rise Heart, threaten Zeus right there. That's going to bait out their Rise Heart. So, okay. Now, I had no non-engine, so, you know, what are the chances that I have 2 more Kashtira monsters in hand that I can use to go into another Xyz? You know, it's impossible, right? So I'm going to special the Unicorn, activate Birth, revive the Fender, and they're gonna use Big Bang, and this is the only time Red Reboot is ever useful in the mirror match. Like, I swear to God, this is the only time you're ever gonna find any use for Red Reboot in this exact scenario. So now I get to keep my 2 monsters. They're gonna set on a pointer, very useful for them. Just deck fitting, and the Rise are gonna trigger. Not that I really care. I'm gonna go into Mountain Smasher, into Zeus, and their entire field is gone. Okay, and then I'm going to normal summon Pathfinder, and that's going to get ashed. Okay, and they added Ash onto Prosperity, by the way, but can they beat a 1 Zeus? No. So they also did not search or set up any follow-up during that turn, despite not any on double Rise Heart. Man, cash players on Master Duel, man. I know I ain't that great, but sometimes these cash players, man. Unicorn's gonna add a second Birth lets me summon Unicorn or summon Fender, then add Scareclaw Cash, and they're gonna. This was gamed by summoning Scareclaw Cash and making an Xyz, but you know they already knew. Not like they run the mirror or anything. So this is gonna be the last duel that I played in Duelist Cup on day 3. And after watching this, you just ask yourself, can you really blame me for taking a break after this? First of all, banger hand. Five interruptions through any amount of hand traps. Just trip, eat your heart out. My opponent summons Purrely. Oh, Purrely. Oh, look, this is the one deck where this hand is actually good against, because it's gonna stop everything they do. Their normal Purrely is gonna get, they're gonna thrust, and that's gonna get ashed, and they're gonna use another quickly spell, again Max Seed, and they're gonna pass. So it took 3 hand traps, but now Purrely, we effectively shut down an entire Purrely player's turn. Can I draw a starter? We'll take that. We'll take a Rise Heart, okay? At least Rise Heart can run over Purrely, so I don't have to keep wasting my hand traps on a single Purrely. And our passes back to our opponent. They're gonna use Happy Memory in a draw phase to dodge Valor, right? Does not dodge Mourner, so Mourner coming in clutch right there, ending their turn once again. We're doing Kashtira Rise Heart beats. Excellent, just the card I wanted to see. And Kashtira Rise Heart has effectively dealt with 2 Purrelys. They got 1 more left in deck. They're gonna summon Lily, and they're gonna summon the White Cat Purrely, and that's gonna get Valor too. So. You don't really need me to describe what's going on right now. All right, so here's the decisive duel in the game. The decisive turn in the duel. Purrely with Delicious Memory. They're gonna activate Purrely. They're gonna hit us pretty. Of course, why wouldn't they? They're gonna activate Purrely's effect, and then they chain Beauty. They chain Pretty. I know what happened here. They thought they were selecting Pretty Memory as the target for Purrely's effect, but in fact what they did was they just chained Purrely Pretty Memory to Purrely's effect. So now it wipes both, it blanks both cards basically, because now Purrely has no target to attach from hand, and Pretty Memory has no card in hand to discard to summon another from deck. And here's the funny thing, despite this misplay, they didn't need to scoop right there. They were on a 3-turn clock despite that misplay. I couldn't kill them for at least 3 more turns. They most likely would have won that game anyways by top decking, over the course of 2 turns, top decking another card, because my hand was shit. And this is the prime example of Duelist Cup getting to people. both of us. My opponent for that horrendous misplay that was completely a UI trap, combined with, 60 plus fucking hours of dueling. Meanwhile, that was enough for me. That was I called it a day after that. So anyway, big takeaway you should get from this video is that this deck sucks. If you want to see a much better deck, not only for Duelist Cup event, but just in general, and what might even be the best deck of the format, I made a video on that one right here. It completely dominated Duelist Cup, and it's way too. I know that this is a Kashtira deck, and this isn't short of URs, but trust me that this deck is the deck I'm referring to is way too damn expensive as well. So go check that out.